Hello, this is Ethan. I'm coming at you from my office, many days removed from this original recording. I wanted to let you guys know that I cut out a big part of this episode and I'm having to speak very loudly in an unnatural way into my headset microphone so that it will pick up my voice. Um, I cut out a big part of this episode because it was whack. I did not like the angle I was taking, and it was just mad embarrassing. So I took it out. So there's somewhere in here, like at the beginning, towards kind of the beginning of the episode. I think like 20 minutes in. So not the beginning, almost halfway. There's an awkward kind of cut. Just be aware, you're not schizophrenic, you're not crazy. I took out like a 30 minutes chunk of this episode, but we went over by 30 minutes, so you still get an hour. So I believe this is still a win, and I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. We are live, coming at you.
Back in the bunker.
Back in the bunker, baby. Out of the car, back in the bunker.
With a shelf full of meat.
With a shelf full of meat. There's how many pounds of meat is that up there?
Whatever 46 chickens makes.
That's a lot.
Times roughly 5 pounds a piece. That's not all of it, obviously. We didn't can the backs. Those were frozen for making stock.
Okay.
Soup stock.
Yeah.
And then we've eaten a number of them too, so that's not all of them anyway.
Okay. How does it taste when it comes out of the... So give you guys context, Jason harvested some meat chickens a few weeks ago and then canned them for storage.
Just to give due credit, my wife canned them.
Okay. Emily canned them for storage. And that way... Because you guys froze them last time and had a freezer go
Historically,
bad.
we've always frozen them. Yes. Frozen them whole. So
Right.
we put them in like a shrink wrap bag and then freeze them as a whole chicken and then pull them out and cook them as a whole chicken most of the time.
Yeah.
This time we parted them out, which means separate them into wings, thighs, breasts, backs, and legs, or feet rather. And then the feet and the backs you can make stock out of, chicken stock.
Yeah.
Boiling them down or putting them in a crock pot overnight. Smells pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Making chicken stock.
Yes, it does. I've done that before.
Yeah.
It smells amazing.
You wake up in the morning, you're like, it's so savory in this house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's been cooking all night?
Oh, me.
Oh, me. Slowly and remotely while asleep.
Yeah, so I was sitting here at Jason's kitchen table and I took a swig of water and threw my head back and I glanced up and there was a gigantic shelf full of science experiments.
They don't look terribly appealing. Canned chicken in a glass jar where you can see everything is not very appealing looking. It tastes fine. It's cooked, because it was pressure cooking or pressure canning puts it at pretty high temperature and under pressure as well.
Okay.
So it's cooked.
How long can you hold them like that? Just forever?
I'm sure there's a better buy, like any canned stuff, but
yeah,
I don't know. I won't tell anybody anything scientific. I would be relatively indefinitely, I suppose.
Okay.
I mean, if it's sealed properly to where literally nothing can get in, then it's going to stay in that state.
Right.
For a long time. I don't think we'd want to... I think we would probably... It's wise to cycle that stuff out every year.
Okay.
So do the same thing again in 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
And then in that space of time, we're eating these up, and then they're replaced.
Right.
So they're all dated, so that they won't get mixed in with new stuff. And we end up with like a 5-year-old bottle down the road. And be like, what is this one's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
They do recommend, just because botulism is the big scary thing. It's an anaerobic bacteria that can grow. So it doesn't need oxygen. So if it's in there and you didn't kill all of it, because it's present, botulism, I believe, is present all the time.
Okay.
And so if you don't kill it all off with the heat, which these all should be fine, because Emily did it by the numbers as best we can. But things happen. And if any did grow in there, that's a very deadly and a very miserable way to go. So that's the hazard for canned foods. But if you just heat it up again,
Yeah.
to a certain degree. Like you'll kill. Our understanding is then you'll kill off any bacteria that may have grown in it over that time.
Okay.
So that's kind of our safeguard, is we're not just popping it open and like eating it right out of the can.
Right.
Even though you could, and you'd 99.9% be okay.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. I like it. It's terrifying looking, but I do like it.
Yeah, it does look like stuff you'd see in a vat at the county fair.
Yeah.
It's like a baby alien
Yeah.
in a jar.
Yeah, that is what it looks like.
$5 a view.
Yeah. Dude, on the drive over here, I was listening to Nickelback.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
just to wake up.
Dude, listen, bro. If you don't think Nickelback bangs, you're gay. That's
I don't quite understand all the hate for Nickelback.
it's so good, dude. Jock Rock is so good, dude. If you think I'm not doing my heavy bag rounds listening to Next Contestant by Nickelback, you're out of your mind, dude.
Where does it come from? All the hate for them. It's like people at least 5-10 years ago were just hating on Nickelback.
Yeah.
If you mention them, people were like, "Oh, they're the worst."
Yeah, I think it's
Like, and I
because
wasn't even in a. Anyway, go ahead.
I think millennials just have a problem with like sincerity. You know,
Okay.
like people just being like, "Yeah, I like big tits. I like guitars."
Oh, okay. So
I'm
they
just
don't
gonna
like
riff.
the flavor that
Yeah.
Nickelback put out.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it was because dorks and nerds became so culturally prevalent in the millennial
But
generation.
then, okay, so because they're jocks, it was a backlash against
Yeah,
that
because
kind
it's
of
jock
music.
rock. Yeah. There's that. It's funny every time I think of like that's not worth saying, but there's a 30 Rock. You remember 30 Rock?
The show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a scene where
That was a great show.
yeah, Tina Fey's character is remembering being bullied in high school.
Poor Liz Lemon.
Yeah. Yeah. She's remembering being bullied in high school and all the bullies are coming. She's this like telescope and all the like jocks and cheerleaders and stuff are coming up to her and being like sincerely being like, "Wow, Liz, like tell us about this thing is really cool." And she'd be like, "Yeah, okay, Brad, I got it. I'm so dumb." And then he'd be like, "I don't think you're dumb. I think that's really cool." And in her head, she's remembering being like seriously, significantly bullied. So
That's how it happened.
right, but
That's
the
how it
reality,
actually. But
the reality was that people were just being nice to her,
And she
and
thought
she's
that
like
they
such a cynical, twisted person that she thought they were being sarcastic. That's really like when I was in high school. I bullied one time, and I was the guy who was gonna bully anybody if I was gonna bully, and I bullied one time, and I almost immediately apologized. Like I bullied him. I was like, "James, hey," like from across the cafeteria, and he like looked up, and I went, "Dude, your haircut's gay as shit." And then a week later, I was like, "Dude,
I'm really sorry, James.
I'm so sorry I said that, dude." Like I walked up to him in front of my friends and was like, "I'm so sorry I said that to you, dude. I was just trying to be cool. I'm not. Your haircut's not gay. It's totally normal."
If you didn't notice, mine's the same.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, dude,
James across the room was like, "Don't we have the same barber?
yeah. I've seen you there.
We've had nice conversations waiting."
Yeah. What it's just, yeah. So I apologize.
would he
Like,
say
and that was like the extent of bullying.
Yeah.
I guess that's not. I got bullied a little bit by these kids, but they were dorks. Like the kids that the kids that bullied me when I was a freshman. The
Is
seniors.
that bullying? That just seems like heckling. Is that what bully?
Yeah, I guess
I
it is
guess
kind of.
bullying-
Well, these kids were real.
I'm thinking of getting slammed into the locker, kind of, or getting shaken down for lunch money. That's what I think of as bullying. But maybe I've just seen movies, and of course, I didn't attend public high school, so I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I think. I don't know. Maybe my experience was different from other people, but I mean, these kids had some real venom.
Yeah.
But I hit one of them. It was freshman year, and they went at me a couple times, and we were in PE or something. We were in the gym, and I hit one of them in the face as hard as I possibly could with a basketball. He was making fun
because
of me.
they were okay.
Yeah, I was overweight.
Okay.
In my freshman year, I was still overweight, and I was overweight through middle school, and One of them was giving me a hard time about it or whatever, and I threw a basketball and hit him as hard as I possibly could, right dead center in the face. Put it into that.
Yeah.
There's no bullying after that, but
I say that's fair.
yeah, and I don't like this whole the public school thing about being like, I don't know, like because I hit him in the face, I gave him a bloody nose. I have no idea what happened. Like I don't, maybe it broke, maybe it didn't. I have no idea.
Right.
And
Did you get in trouble?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, the principal was like, "What happened?" And I said, "He called me fat, so I hit him in the face as hard as I could with a basketball." And the principal was like, "Guess you shouldn't do that."
Principal of the year.
Yeah, I mean that was my experience.
He's like, that's what I would have done.
"Yeah, the principal was for real. Like, I guess you shouldn't call people fat.
He's
See
like,
you later, Ethan."
Stop being jerks.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll learn. Mm-hmm. People have feelings.
Yeah, so there's like all this. I don't know. I mean, I do think public schools are like cesspools of incompetence and like pedophilia. And there's the Michael. What is his last name? The little Jewish guy that's actually pretty funny. Michael Malice. Real name.
Okay.
His quote is like the American public schools are like the first and only place that many kids will ever encounter violence. Which I think is probably true. So I'm not defending public schools by any means, but anyway, so Jock Rock.
Okay.
I think
But
I think
you
millennials
solved your bullying problem with violence,
yeah,
and were not reprimanded for it.
no,
Interesting.
no, but I got that encounter. I think I probably should have been reprimanded for it because that encounter like flipped a switch in my head that like informed how I responded with people that were less than cooperative with me for like the next decade.
Oh, okay.
Like I was like, oh, you can just hit people that are not,
And they'll stop.
and they'll stop doing what you want them to
They'll
stop
be
doing.
polite to you.
Yeah, and I was like, dang. So now I'm missing a pinky
superpowers.
knuckle. Yeah, now I'm missing a pinky knuckle, and my knuckles are all scarred up on both hands, and I've been to jail. So maybe I should have been
Maybe that was the failure of the public school. Was not.
adequately punishing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
At least being like, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. But you know what? Don't repay evil for evil,
Yeah,
Ethan.
you shouldn't have done that either, brother.
Little high school Ethan.
Yeah. So I think that there's just like a class of these like cynical, like band dork kids
Okay.
that exist in the millennial generation that were not. They probably weren't bullied enough. Really, like people were probably way too nice to them or whatever. And so they.
Like there's a criteria to be met.
Yeah,
They weren't bullied enough.
It's something like that. I mean, I think that's probably like we probably should bring bullying back a little bit.
Just to toughen kids up. Is that what you?
Yeah, or just like a social check. Like I think you should obviously have teachers like policing kids and making sure they're not physically abusing each other or like
For sure.
like bird dogging each other, like heavy harassment. But like being like if you're acting odd, having the cool kid be like, dude, what are you doing? Is probably fine. And then having the other cool kids police the cool kids, being like, dude, you're acting. Doug Wilson makes this point about if there's a bunch of kids at school and there's a bunch of guys and one of the guys asks a non-Christian girl to go out
Right.
with him, and the other Christian guys, like one of them walks up and smashes him into a locker, and he's like, "What are you doing, you fool? Like you shouldn't be dating this woman. You're playing with fire here."
Yeah.
That's totally acceptable.
Yes.
And I think that's true. I think that is totally acceptable. So Jock Rock is sick. Creed is very good. I challenge any man with a child to listen to Arms Wide Open and not break into tears, dude. That song is so beautiful.
Nickelback, or is that a?
No, it's Creed, and it's a song about him having his son.
Yeah.
Finding out that he was going to have a son, and like finding out the news, dude, and how he like started crying, and he's the lines like, "With arms wide open, I'll show you everything."
Yeah.
It's so, dude. Oh my
good.
goodness. Oh, it's so good. That song
have
is
to look it
so
up
good.
later.
Yeah, and then the Chad Kroeger, the vocalist for Nickelback. I mean, he's an unregenerate pagan, so he's like, saddled with the weight of his
Right.
own sin and has plenty of problems. But there are redeeming elements of his personality, like the fact that he's like very openly, just like a good old fashioned rock star. that like when he talks about like being young and like starting Nickelback and trying to like, he is very openly like, I was desperate to be famous. Like I wanted to be famous so bad. Like I wanted my name up in lights and people to recognize me and like people to know who I was. Like and to have the balls to just say that,
as opposed to
be like, oh, I wanted,
like, well, I just wanted, it's about to.
It was about the art, man. It was about the music. I wanted to make good. I just want to make good music and like let the people
share with people.
Yeah, to be like, no, I like the music and I want to make good music, but I also really want.
I really want people to know who I am.
Yeah, I want to be famous. Is very. I think that's
refreshing
very,
anyway.
Yeah, refreshing, endearing.
Honest.
Yeah, and I think that in
although it was not a good thing to want.
I think that as long as you, for him, no, yes, that's true. If
I
you're,
just mean in general, if your main motivation in doing something well is to be famous, that's not a good note. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think if your main,
I want to be revered as a god.
Yeah,
is what that to me is saying.
Okay, I think I would say that wanting anything more than the doing anything out of the motivation, out of a primary motivation that isn't furthering God's kingdom and fulfilling the Great Commission, I think is improper.
Yes.
I think to that end, I think if and I've said this before, but I don't think I've ever gone into like a real detail with this because I have that desire, like very strongly, a big motivator for why I
We
write.
talked about this a couple episodes ago.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, a big reason why I write, a big reason why I'm doing this, why all I think about is hyper premium. You know, it's like new stuff, new ideas. I just got done talking to Tannen. He's going to start doing product reviews for us.
Very
Like,
cool.
it's all I think about. I'm at work thinking about hyper premium. I'm not thinking about work.
That's how I was when I was a medic in the last few
Thinking about
years.
farms, yeah.
Just thinking about farms, watching
Yeah,
stuff all the time.
yeah. Yeah. And a big part of that is because I want to be famous. Like I really want to be famous. I want to die knowing that people will remember my name. I want my name
But
up
only
in
the
lights.
first name, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully the last name will be. I'll be allowed to do that. Yeah, but I definitely want to be famous, and I just check that. I just want to make sure that motivation drives me to do godly things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're right, if that ever becomes the primary reason why I'm deciding to do something, it's terrible. And
Yeah, so
vapid
is the end result, are you doing all this stuff with hyper premium because it's the easiest way for you to gain fame?
right.
Or are you seeking to channel your desire to be famous into and saying, I have this desire and it could really wreck me
Right.
and my family
Right.
and make me into a very self-centered person. And
Right.
everyone's self-centered in their own way. And so your particular struggle is with wanting to be revered and known.
Yeah.
And so, but if you're channeling that and saying, yeah, I have this desire and this drive, and I'm going to use that and deny myself and try to downplay me in order to instead bring people to Christ and to spread truth.
Right.
And
Right. I'm either going to get famous. I'm either going to get famous telling the truth and creating regenerate, like, or not regenerate, but creating like furthering the message of goodness, truth, and beauty through my art, or I'm not going to get famous. Like that's how I think about
okay,
it.
I
Is
gotcha.
I'm either if what God wants is for me to be famous, then I'm going to get famous with hyper premium, and hyper premium is going to create good, wholesome entertainment. It's going to be largely focused on adults, but good, wholesome entertainment that's redeeming. It's that has the same impact as like Lord of the Rings or a C.S. Lewis book. Like you can read it, you can relax, you can enjoy it, you can watch the Lord of the Rings movies. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm so guilt-ridden because I'm watching a sex scene or whatever. Like you can engage with this content that's entertaining, that allows you to, it is escapist. It allows you to remove yourself maybe from the stresses of life, but it also has, it is a retelling of the hero's journey, of the messianic, slay the dragon, get the girl, stuff. And so it's just, I'm either gonna get famous doing activities that God wants me to do, or I'm just not gonna get famous, and this is that, and I just have to accept
So
that.
you're leaving that up to God, saying,
Right.
put my intentions into doing good and doing good work,
Right.
glorifying God, and if God makes me famous, rewards me with something I would enjoy.
Right. And I find that potential reward of fame to be highly motivating.
Yeah.
So it makes me want to go out and do those things that I believe God has called me to do as a way to further His kingdom. So it makes me get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and drive over here, and
Right.
which I think this is productive. Maybe it's not, but I believe that it is.
Well, I think it is. If for nobody else, then for you and I talking about stuff, it is.
Yeah, certainly, certainly.
It's just therapy, and maybe somebody else can get something else out of it.
Right. And so I think to that end, I think a good way to measure that out, like to tell if you're being that way or not, like if you're really submitting yourself to God's will and letting your desires drive a positive, godly effort. I think a good way to do that, a good place to start, is being scared of God. I think that's a very good place to
The
start.
fear of God is the beginning of wisdom.
Right. Like you just to be like, yes, I want a Porsche, so I'm going to go out and like be a sales guy or whatever and make a bunch of money to get a Porsche. Like having the fear of like, if I lie, God's going to punish me for that. We'll keep you in line for sure.
I need to make money honestly.
Yeah, that'll help you for sure.
I need to make my my weights and scales
Mm-hmm.
need to be true.
Yes. The cars I sell need to be functioning and, not pieces of crap.
I need to
jalopies.
actually have done the tune-ups.
Yeah.
I keep going back to what keeps popping in my head is the line from Chariots of Fire where Little is talking to his... So Chariots of Fire is a movie based on a real man who ran in the Olympics. He was a very fast natural runner, had terrible form, but was still very successful. Just naturally very fast man. It's a great movie. Point is, he is also looking to become a missionary, and his sister wants him to just go straight to the mission field, and she thinks that it's a waste of time for him to be running at all.
Yeah.
She chides him or tries to lecture him over participating in races at all because she sees it as a distraction and she's kind of trying to control him. And he has this really passionate talk with her where he says, God made me fast. I think he's Scottish, so he has a fantastic accent. I'm not going to try and replicate, but you'll just have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
He says, God made me fast, and when I run, I feel His glory.
Yeah.
It's a really
Exactly.
good line.
Yes.
And so it's like whatever makes you tick is the thing that God put into you to do well and to love doing, and at the same time you're glorifying Him because you're doing your work joyfully.
Yeah.
And for me, that's making things grow.
Yeah.
And for Ethan, that's putting out content, creating things,
Sharing ideas.
sharing ideas.
Yeah.
That's where we feel God's glory in what we're doing,
Yeah.
and where we have that true passion and fire of the soul.
Yeah. It is like, it's a high, dude. It is a high. Like every morning driving over here, I'm like, oh,
But instead
boy.
of being stupefied, it's like an enlightened high.
It's a sharpening thing. You feel,
It's a sharpening instead of a
Yeah,
dulling,
yeah.
like drugs high.
yeah, you don't feel euphoric. You feel focused.
Yeah.
You feel awake. Yeah, for sure. For
Mhm.
sure. So I don't know if there's a good transition there to today's topic, but
Do another hard 180.
yeah, hard 180. Might as well. So today we're going to talk about situational analysis and decision making, because I think that that's pretty critical if you're a young guy leading a family. It's also something that you'll probably not be super great at.
Do I have a little feedback?
You might
Mine's
have a
looking
little
fuzzy. This is
yeah.
some stuff
Oh yeah, because the power cord is.
all wrapped around.
Let's hope it's just your mic picking up my mic. Oh boy, you'd think I'd be good at this point. Is it changing when I hold it up like that?
I think so. Put it down for just a second. That looks better. I think it's not wrapped around
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, whatever. If it's bad, it'll just be bad. Right. So situational analysis. So I've got two examples. One of which I brought up to you, which is like financial stuff.
Being
Hammered.
at a bar at 1 a.m. is when you don't have responsibilities to bring you home.
Right. Exactly. So
There's a country song about that.
good. That's a good country song. And so so the evaluation, like evaluating the situation, you can extrapolate that out. Like if you're interacting with some hostile actor at work, or your boss is doing something that you don't appreciate, they said one thing and the reality is another. You can have this situation of being like, if you're evaluating the situation like, I'm mad and I'm going to tell him, I'm going to speak my mind and tell him, give him the what for, and I want to get in a call with them and say, you said this and now it's this way and you got me, like that is all emotion. That is all pride. You need to let that go. It probably has nothing to do with you. I'm in a situation right now where my boss lied to me. My boss just straight up lied to me when she hired me. And
Really?
yeah, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff that she lied about that's now like really causing a lot of problems for me. And if instead of getting all wound up and taking it personally and whatever, I'm just like, yeah, listen, she's scared. She's in a very risky situation. She took a high risk job. She's got a lot on her plate. Her lying is just born out of nervousness. It's born out of not having, she's not a believer. So she doesn't have.
She's trying to control and manage in a way that's
right. And so it's born out of
testing management theories.
Yeah. She's testing management theories.
She's like, how does lying work?
Yeah, her lying.
So far, okay.
Her lying has nothing to do with me, and so I am staying quiet. I'm doing the best I can with the situation I've been dealt, and I'm just getting another job.
Yeah, quietly looking for work.
Yeah, just quietly looking for another job.
Turning in your 2-week notice as soon as possible.
And in sales, if you try to turn in a 2-week notice, they just go, don't worry about it, man.
Oh, they'll just let you go.
Yeah, because they don't want you sticking around trying to take customer information.
Oh, I see.
And
Gotcha.
And a salesperson who's got one foot out the door is just not a good salesperson.
Makes sense.
You need to be bought into what you need to really believe in what you're selling. So
every other job I've had, it's like, oh golly, only 2 weeks?
Yeah.
To replace you?
Yeah.
We can't train somebody that fast.
Yeah, for the most part, they'll ask you to stick around for a few days to pass things off and answer questions about accounts that you're working on. They try their best not to lose deals, but they're like, if you're switching main point of contact with stuff anyways, most of the time the customer is going to be like, well, I was buying from John because I like John.
Yeah.
I don't care now. Now that he's gone,
yeah,
I don't care. So they're going to lose
another John.
Yeah.
Steve gets on and tries to do John's voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi.
Yeah. So like they're going to leave anyway, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, and for the most part, when it's time to go in sales, yeah, they just cut their losses and let you go. Yeah, so I'm not getting like hostile. I'm not like trying to prove anything to anybody. Just quietly going to get another job. And it does, like, I go in from work many times throughout the day because I work from home. My office is in a building separate from our house, and I'll walk in from my office and go in to and they said this was they said it was on the roadmap. They said it was a part of the thing I'm selling. It's not. And it's like a basic thing. Like I rant to my wife, I get angry, whatever with my wife. I say what I need to say, go back in, get calm, do what I need to do to conduct myself in a proper way.
And she makes herself another cup of coffee.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so like that, you can use these same sort of like situational analysis. Is not just outward, it's inward as well. How am I feeling right now? Am I about to do this because oh wow, we're at an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Okay.
Our 10-minute segment at the beginning wasn't really a story time. We kind of did a double header today.
Yeah. So it's inward too. Are you about to get in a fight with somebody, whether it's, verbal, at work, with your kids? That's a good one.
Are you about to go at your kids, like reprimand them or whatever, because they sincerely need to be reprimanded? Or are you doing it because you're annoyed or because they said something to you that you think is like, no, it's not that way. It's this way. Like, is that how you're feeling really? Like, is it, and not analyze yourself as well, your own feelings, your own emotions. Is it time to spank them, or do you need to take a beat? Like, can you offer discipline to your child right now in a justifiable way before God, or are you going to spank them out of anger?
Yeah.
Do you need to take a second to take a breath?
That's what we've this is way too late. We have an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But we're putting more strict guidelines in place for our own discipline.
Yeah.
Specifically because it's far too easy to spank out of anger or to subjectively say, well, this is worth X number of spankings, as opposed to saying this offense is going to be this many spankings all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to saying, well, this is the third time today, so we're going to increase the number of spankings.
Right.
Because, as opposed to just saying we're going to go through the same punishment again and pray with you again. Now, the policy is go wait in the room for me. It'll be done privately, away from your siblings, not immediately. Because my struggle was always like, it's like that's how you train dogs, not children. It's like, well, they have to be spanked right in the minute, so they know.
Right.
10 minutes later doesn't count. Like they won't know. It's like, yes, they'll know because you'll talk with them.
Right.
And they're intelligent humans. Jason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So under this, my own shortcomings.
Yeah,
is being also being impatient and saying this is taking away time of my day.
Right.
That's my big struggle. Is like we've got 4 kids now. One's not really needing much in the way of discipline because she's not quite to that, or it's very minimal stuff.
Right.
It's more just like angry outbursts.
Right.
But the other 3, it's like you can spend a lot of your day having talks with them about why they're getting a spanking and then praying with them.
Right.
If each of those spankings takes like 7 minutes to go through the whole process, it eats up a day.
Yeah, it eats up a day.
You get
quick.
nothing done.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
so much for the laundry, so much for the
Chores.
so much for the, it can be.
So much for making dinner.
But it has to be done properly because we are experiencing the outworkings of our own impatience
Yeah.
with our child discipline
Yeah.
and how it's imprinting onto them, how they should be impatient, how they are irritable and nasty with each other as siblings. They learned from us.
Yeah.
From us being, why are you doing this still? Why are
Yeah.
overly critical, overly frustrated. So that's our sin being imprinted onto our children and our bad habits and our bad example, which we are, with the Lord's grace, trying to correct now by putting restraints in place for ourselves, and there's expectations so the children know exactly what is going to happen when they cross a certain line. They know exactly when they'll get a spanking versus just a reprimand or an extra chore or something like that.
Right.
My parents did a really good job of, there was a chart on the back of their bedroom door that had the number of spankings for which kind of offense. You hit your sibling, it's 4 spankings. If you lie, that's 5. If you disobey, that's 2. Or you delay obedience, that's 2,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we knew exactly. So they'd march us back there, and they'd like, what did you do? And we find it on the chart, and we add up. Oh, I did 2 things. So you got to add those together.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You get your spanking, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You walk away.
Yeah.
Your parents not angry with you for the rest of the day,
Right.
being like, they've been really terrible today,
Yeah.
and just bitter with them.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a... Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a rabbit trail.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I think that factors into the decision making part of this, of the 2 halves of the
You
topic.
have to take the emotion out of it, because when you are correcting a child for a chronic problem of theirs, which more often than not is a chronic problem of yours,
Yeah.
I'm finding out. Whatever my children struggle with all the time, I can see in either myself or my wife.
Yeah.
It's like one of us deals with the same struggle that they do.
Right. I'm setting this example that's causing this.
Like, well, yeah, they're genetically getting that predisposition.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
also I'm still playing it out in my own life.
Right,
And like I'm a work in progress
right.
as well.
Yeah, and we're reading this. Emily and I are reading this book. I think it's eight errors, 8 mistakes parents make, or 8 errors parents make, or whatever. It's a Canon Press book. It's really good.
Yeah. Only that many, huh?
Yeah, only that many.
Only 8.
He breaks it. It's way more than 8. He has like the 8.
These are like big umbrella categories.
Yeah,
8.
yeah. And then he breaks them down. But one of the things that he talks about is like when you are deciding, when you're making the decision whether or not to discipline your child, one of the things you need to analyze in your situational analysis of the situation is is this a behavior that's coming out of blatant rebellion, or are they scared? Are you asking too much of them? And you know your kid.
Yeah.
And the people who don't have kids, trust me, don't get upset, don't get like whacked out about it or worried. You'll know. Like you can tell when your child is being rebellious. You know your kid when they're being rebellious versus when they're scared or when they don't understand. And sometimes it's appropriate.
It is easy to translate a lot of it as because they might act rebelliously. Our children, we find, have acted out when they don't feel they're getting enough attention. And
Yeah.
so sometimes they will act out and actually they will be sinning, but the core reason may be that they're trying to get attention, that they don't feel like
yes.
they're not getting enough love
Yeah.
and attention in the way that they feel they're being loved.
Yeah.
Even if we think, and this goes to love languages too. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages.
Yep.
And if one of our kids loves giving gifts, she just gives gifts all the time.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that translates into a lot of rebuke from us saying, you're giving a gift, but you're not obeying.
Yeah.
Like instead of actually doing what we told you to do, you're trying to give us gifts that we don't want.
Right. Yeah.
That's not how we receive love. Like you need to love us by obedience.
Yeah.
Doing your chores, not being like, yeah, I made mom and dad mad with this, so I'm going to go write them a card.
Yeah.
It's like, you're still not cleaning
Doesn't
up.
count. Yeah.
You're still putting off what you should actually have been doing.
Exactly. Clever.
And in the same
Clever,
way-
but it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, not even clever. I think she's just like, this is what
Nah,
I
just
do.
sincere,
This
yeah.
is what I am going to do to make things up to them.
Right.
And we say, no. Bible says obedience. God wants obedience over sacrifice.
Right.
So don't give what you think is best. Give what God says he wants you to give.
Right. Absolutely.
Do what you are told to do. And the same, and also our kids don't always feel loved by the things that we think we're doing.
Yeah.
Emily is reading through, and I'm going to read through it when she's finished, but Joel Beakey's, I think it's called Parenting Through God's Promises, I think. I may be paraphrasing the title, but if you type that in, I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, there's been a lot of convicting things in that, and that's where a lot of this change in our own policy is taking shape from. Is
Good.
Emily's reading this, and we're discussing it as we go through it.
Good. Well, yeah. So that's an important part of what we're talking about here is this like ability to remove your own emotions from it. And I think that kind of is actually the key to what we're really talking about here is, and kind of why I wanted to even reference the violence thing, because it's just such an emotional thing for guys, for young men. You know, it's such a pride thing to want to. I'm not going to let you bully me. You know, like.
Yeah.
You really do need to remove whatever feelings you have from the situation so that you can say, okay, is this a moral issue? Is it morally wrong for me to back down from this person? Is it morally wrong for me to not discipline my
Am I
child
actually
here?
being a coward
Am I actually being a coward?
when I should fight?
Right, when I should fight. Am I actually being a coward at work when I should stand up and say, hey, you're not going to treat me like that. If you continue to treat me like this, I'm going to escalate this issue to leadership. We're going to have mediation. You and I are going to have a problem. Like if that's what's going to happen, if that's what needs to happen, then you need to acknowledge that. You need to not be a coward, not live in fear, but you also need to not operate out of pride, operate out of like thinking you need to prove something to people that you're tough, you're not going to whatever. So to analyze things, you need to be unemotional. And the last, I'll say this and then we can wrap it up. I'll say this quick. The last example I could think of is finances.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a really big one because money is scary and losing money is really scary. and the idea of losing out on gaining money is scary. People get greedy. And so the two things I'll say is that there's when people start to get scared, they look at what other people are doing. They try to figure out, well, what is everybody else doing? Maybe I should do that, whatever. And so you get like one of the things that you see in the crypto world is that when Bitcoin crashes, people start getting scared and they sell their Bitcoin that they ought not sell. It's not a good idea. You need to just hold it. You need to hold true to your conviction. Like if you analyze this and you decide if your thesis is that I think long-term Bitcoin is going to be this revolutionary technology, then you ought not be influenced by the chart, by the number going up or down. You need to, if it crashes significantly, obviously reevaluate, go back, look at the fundamentals. Has anything about my thesis changed? Have any of the facts on the ground changed? The answer is no. Then your actions around that should not change either. So, like when I bought my Bitcoin before the most recent crash, and then it crashed, and I lost half the money I put into it, and I just stayed.
You lost the current value.
Yeah, right.
You didn't lose.
I didn't lose the money because I didn't sell.
Yes, you would have lost the money if you had panicked and sold.
Right, and so now I'm at double. Right now I'm sitting at double
what
I invested, and it's very, very likely that I'm going to go to, potentially 8 to 9 times this cycle what I invested. And when it crashed, I went back to the drawing board and I went back and I said, okay, why did I buy this? Did I do it because I was on YouTube and some guy was like, if you don't buy Bitcoin, you're going to lose out on $1 million? Did I do it because of fear of missing out? Did I do it because I'm emotional? No, I did not. I did it because I read the Bitcoin Standard, because I believe in oh my goodness, I believe in markets and whatever the school of thought, the German school of, oh my goodness, dude, any other time I tell you, because I believe Mises is right, because I believe Hayek is right, because I believe they know what they're talking about. And so I believe it's fundamentally sound. I made fundamental, not technical analysis, but I made a fundamental analysis of the facts on the ground. I believe these things are true logically. And none of that's changed. So I'm not changing the way I'm going to behave here, no matter how I feel about the situation. And so much of market sentiment, or so much of price action in the market, is driven by human sentiment, by feeling. And so there's a quote. I told Jason what it was before we started recording, so he's heard this before, and I don't remember who. It might have been one of the Rothschilds. It might have been Soros, but it's when there's blood in the street, you buy. And basically what he's saying is, when everyone else is panicking, they're panicking. They're emotional. They are not analyzing the situation. Everyone around you is panicking. You have to stay calm. You have to not get in your emotions. You have to look at all the things that are now on sale. Is real estate cheaper than it should be? Is gold cheaper than it should be? Are there equities out there that are cheaper than they should be? And I need to be able to analyze these things on their facts. What is this company like? Are they turning a profit? Are they growing? Do they have a good captain at the helm of their ship? Like, what are the fundamental aspects of this company? If they're solid and the company is super cheap, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. I know, logically speaking, this is a good buy. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make money on it, but at the very least, you made a logical decision. You analyzed the situation without your emotions, and you purchased the stock based off of strong fundamental understandings of what's going on. And you can extrapolate that out to life in general. My dad has been in a couple situations where he was working at a company that started to look bad, and people started jumping ship and leaving the company and trying to go other places, and everybody's complaining and whatever. And he stayed level-headed. He didn't get emotional. He reevaluated the company on its fundamental level. Why did I come to work here to begin with? Okay, none of that's changed. Okay, I'm staying. And he stayed, and made a very significant portion of money when that company went public.
Yeah.
And he got to sell the shares. And so that's a financial thing. You can extrapolate that out to life in general. When everybody else, when there's conflict at your church, there's two or three camps. People are upset. There's division in the ranks. People are going to get emotional and angry and go, well, I'm not going to stand for this, and go to another church. Should you do that? Well, the only way you're going to know whether or not you should do it is if you do not get angry, you do not get prideful, you stay level-headed, you go, why did I come to this church to begin with?
Yeah.
What was here that I felt the Lord was bringing me here? Has any of that changed? Is the Lord compelling me to go somewhere else? If the answer to those two questions is no, you ought to stay.
Yeah.
You ought to stay.
Don't stampede.
Yeah, don't stampede. Don't get a herd mentality. And in many cases, the opposite of what everyone else is doing is the right decision.
Going against the flow.
Yeah. So that's the analysis side, and then the decision making side is the staying unemotional. Don't get prideful. That's the thing you can extrapolate from the violence side. Don't get prideful. Okay, don't get to this place where you think you got to prove something to somebody, or you got to stand up for yourself. I'm going to tell them what's what. I'm going to get my way. Don't get that way. The financial example is don't get scared. So don't get prideful and don't get scared. And then the children example is, analyze the situation. Are your kids acting out because they need you? Are they acting out because they're scared? Are they acting out because they don't understand? Is this an act of obedience, or is this that they just didn't understand your instruction? Maybe you communicated poorly.
Right. You assumed they knew too much. I think we talked about child training at some point in the past about what tidying up means.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they understand how to clean up?
Right. Do they understand what that means? Do they know where their toys go? Have you ever consciously said, listen, these toys go in this box, this goes over here. You
Here's
need to
where
fold
the
your
crayons go. And it
Right.
all has places.
Right. Don't
Here's
just come
their
in and
order.
go clean up.
Have you put a system in place that is easy for them to understand
Right.
and possible for them to upkeep?
Right. And if you haven't, maybe
on
they're not
you.
being disobedient. Yeah, they're not at that point. They're not being disobedient, and they don't need discipline. They need coaching. You need to understand that you're the one at fault.
They need leadership,
Yeah, they need leadership.
and you have provided poor leadership.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what we're talking about today. And I think I just see people get so emotional, and make really terrible decisions based off of how they feel. And I'm an intuitive guy, right? Like I get it to a certain extent. Like I go with my gut a lot. But it's, and that is often interpretation of my own feelings. But, I know the difference between my emotions clouding my head and my emotions telling me about something I'm unaware of. Because that's another thing that's the flip side of this coin, is that your subconscious mind is a very powerful thing, and it knows a lot more than you know. And so if you're having anxiety about something, if you are having anxiety about your church, sometimes, the reverse of the situation that I just don't stampede, don't leave the church. There may be a reverse of the situation where you're all of a sudden you're getting anxiety going in on Sundays. There's somebody there. The pastor is. I'll give you an example. Emily, when we met, she was going to a church that had just been started.
Okay.
And I met the pastor, and immediately was like, something about you is off. And I didn't quite know what it was. I couldn't quite tell, and I didn't really listen to it. And so I got closer with them. I started volunteering there, got involved at that church, and it didn't bite me in the butt because the Lord was looking out for us. But that guy was a snake. He ought not have been a pastor. He did not need to be in that position. He was. I don't even know if he's a Christian. And a lot of people got burned.
Just an aspiring cult leader.
Yeah, something like one of the things was that was a real red flag was that he was really into Brett Warren.
Don't know who he is.
Good. He's just this. He's an LA pastor who's like a mega church pastor.
Okay.
And he brags, he humble brags all the time about how he lives on reverse tithing. So he gives away 90% of his income and lives on 10% of his income, which by the like
Reverse
if
tithing.
you, yeah, like you nowhere
If you bring in,
does God say
$3 million a month, it hardly matters.
right exactly. And it's
Doing it for tax reasons.
yeah, God also does not say you should reverse tithe. God says 10%. That's what he says. So that's what you ought to give. Like if God puts it on your heart to donate more,
give more. No,
right? If God puts it on your heart
but
to give more,
don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Right,
It's
give
like
in private.
don't tell people.
right? Exactly. And like everything I've ever seen him do, he brings it up. God's been, and he humble brags. So he's like, God's been faithful to us, so we get to reverse tithe. And so like that was a big red flag, and so it was appropriate for us to leave that church, right? And it was my feelings that warned me about that, because there's no way that you can actually know what's going on in another person's head. You can't. Another human being cannot know another man's heart. Really, you can judge based off of his actions, the fruits of whatever, but you can't really know what's going on in his head.
He might not know.
He might not know. Yeah, exactly. He might not know. And so it was really, it was my gut feeling to leave that church that drove us to do that, and it ended up being a very good decision to do so. So you can check in with your emotions, you can factor those into the decision, but they need to be a factor in the decision, right? To have them be like there's no thought. I'm just angry, so I'm going to spank my kid. I'm just angry, so I'm going to hit this guy. I'm just scared, so I'm going to sell all my gold.
Right.
Or my whatever. I'm just scared, so I'm going to buy GameStop because I'm scared that I'm going to miss out on making $1 million.
I get that reference.
Yeah, and so it's really you just ought not do those things. So that's it, and I just see so many people. This is I think part of it is that I think a lot of the time we talk and try to speak to issues that guys in their 20s and early 30s might be struggling with, but this is just such a broader issue that I think it's a little bit more general. But like people they make some of the strangest. I think the thing that motivated me was with my boss. Just like this week, I just found out so much stuff about it, about like how disorganized and like just like sitting there looking at my wife, talking to my dad about it, and my dad being like, "What? Why would somebody do that?" And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Because they're scared. They're not thinking, and they're scared. And it just creates so much chaos. And so you really, really, really need to avoid creating chaos by getting scared or prideful or whatever, and striking out in violence, striking out in fear, striking out in whatever. I'm kind of talking in circles now, but
don't you run your life decisions based on your emotions.
Yeah.
Don't be a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. Just
analyze,
make good, clear-headed
wise.
decisions.
Think ahead. Also, thinking about a lot of these scenarios ahead of time will help you.
Yes.
Make decisions in the moment. If you, what is it? I think it's called wargaming.
Yeah.
A little bit, where you play out scenarios in your head.
Right.
So then you're kind of mentally training for that scenario.
Right.
And be like, oh, I've encountered something like this before in my imagination.
Right.
You're running through scenarios of encountering bad actors.
Yeah. How could conversations go?
Live shooter scenarios or active shooter scenarios at church.
Yeah. Exactly.
I run those all the time.
Yeah. Me too.
I've got another buddy.
Yeah.
I think,
all the guys at church.
Most of the guys at church are constantly thinking about
what
would happen if a gunman came in.
Oh, dude. I mean,
how many people would I have to step over to get a clear shot at this guy?
Yeah. Can I shoot him in the head at 9 yards?
Can I? Yeah.
Over a crowd of people.
If I'm in the balcony, could I drop onto his shoulders from above?
yeah, Batman, this dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
probably way more effective to just lean over.
Drop onto him as he looks up.
Yeah, he moves, just steps out of the way. You break a leg, he kills you. Yeah.
But distracting him long enough for someone else to shoot him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's a group effort.
Yeah, it is.
You might have to go down to take down the shooter. But saved a bunch of people.
Yeah.
That's admirable.
Yeah, it is.
So run those mental scenarios.
Yeah.
Not in fear, but in what could I actually do and what would be wise. I don't want to shoot into a crowd of people.
Right.
Like, I'm a bad shot. Or I don't know how good a shot I am.
Yeah. Dude,
Don't take risky shots.
yeah, get close enough
Maybe you just need to work on closing the distance.
Yeah.
And if he sees a bunch of people running toward him with guns,
Yeah, be like, oh,
he might back
wrong
down.
church. I gotta get out of here. Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Oops.
I'm gonna go next door.
I think there's a very topical decision that the entire country just got to witness, that everyone is sitting here going, why on earth would you do that? Which is the presidential debate. Did you watch it?
No, I heard a brief comment on the news.
Oh my!
Did Biden just flub big time?
Dude, there's literally a point in the debate when Joe Biden says something and the moderator goes, "Mr. Trump, your response." Trump looks, takes a beat, and goes, "I don't know what he just said." And and I didn't know what he just said. Nobody knew what he just said.
He just called it with everybody else.
Yep, and the moderator.
The emperor has no clothes on.
Oh yeah,
and said the little child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the
moderator's like, "Oh, thank goodness someone said it out loud."
Yeah. Okay. Now we can all laugh at him. Haha! I see your penis. So the what the whole time I was sitting there going, how, why would you make the decision to do this? Like,
to debate it all?
Yeah, to debate it all. Like, you have a wife who could have gotten in the way. You have handlers who could have gotten in the way. Like, so many people made the decision to put you on that stage, including you, dementia or not. Like, how did this happen? How could they let this happen? Like, they could have just said Donald Trump's a racist. He's going after democracy. We're not entertaining this. We're not debating him. We are not acknowledging his presidential run. We're not partaking in this as evil. Whatever. They could have just said that. Like, how do you make this decision? And you know how you make it? Fear and pride.
Or they're deliberately tanking him.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think
they
that's
have to have a pretty big.
Dude, they have 10 days. They don't even have 10 days. They have 8 days now till you can't get anybody on the Ohio ballot. And if you're not on the Ohio ballot, you're not going to win the presidential election.
I gotcha.
So, and they have such a legal uphill battle to get that done, and they don't have anybody. Everybody says Newsom, but Newsom's not. Dude, if you think Newsom is going to get on stage,
we're at an hour and a half.
Okay, all right, okay. So
the point was made.
Yeah,
Joe
Biden was humiliated.
Out of fear.
Yeah, don't make decisions out of fear, pride. These people are all.
You see how it goes.
Yeah, you see how it goes.
You end up in the presidential office with dementia.
Yeah, and it's getting worse.
Debating people.
Right, debating people.
That's where it leads if you make emotional decisions, people.
Dementia. Public humiliation and dementia. Joe Biden is going to die being remembered
for this.
That's what he's going to be remembered for.
And falling over on his bike while standing still.
Yes. Jeez Louise. So, Jeez Lewis. So yeah, please don't get yourself in a situation like that. And that's what we're trying to help you avoid, I think, is getting yourself into that is cataclysmic, life-ruining decision-making.
Unless you have dementia.
Right, then I guess it doesn't matter. You're checked out.
I don't think Joe Biden remembers.
But I think 40-year-old Joe Biden probably would be extremely upset. And when Joe Biden's eternal soul is burning in hell, he's going to look back on that time undemented as part of a torturous, like that will be used to torture.
That would be a good time, comparatively.
That's, you know what? I guess that's true. That's a good point.
Remember the
time when I was at least
at least not burning in hell.
Yeah, I may have been molesting children, but at least wasn't burning in hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it, guys.
Only being tortured by my awful wife.
Yes.
Who's shoving me onto public places.
Yes.
What a woman.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, gosh.
Anywho.
We're
going to take this moment to transition sharply to go to church.
Yes.
We love you. We're praying for you.
Make the decision to go to church. Analyze your life as being devoid of meaning, and go, I'm going to make the decision to go to church. So, yes.
Yeah. Analyze your life and say, my life does have meaning, and I'm going to find a way to make it more meaningful.
Right.
Make an impact.
Yes.
A meaningful impact with your life.
Yes.
God has given you talents. There are things within you that will blossom with joy and feeling God's glory when you do them to his glory. There's nothing more satisfying than doing God's will and living for something that is greater than you,
Yeah.
contrary to everything our culture says,
Yeah.
which is empty and unsatisfying
Yeah.
and depressing.
Yes. Yes. So go to church, find a girl, marry her, have as many kids as you
Can take care of
can take care of. Well,
God gives you.
yeah, as many kids as God gives you. Take care of yourself, dude. Keep yourself healthy. Please, just when you're making decisions, check yourself. Just take a beat, take a second, take a breath, take a couple deep breaths, feel your body, check in, and think. That's it. We love you guys. We are praying for you. We'll see you next week.